you said the deepest, darkest point in the ocean, the Marianas Trench, all I could think of was Metalocalypse when they're going to film, to record in the Marianas Trench and Nathan Explosion. It's like, it's the deepest, darkest place in the abyss, the Marianas Trench. But again, aging millennial references aside, let's go on to the next topic that we have, which is, again, not the best segue, but we're rolling with what we got. What, in your opinions, makes an actual play different? What makes it stand out? What is something other than module and setting? Because now you've got your module, we're in our setting, we're playing. What are some things that you've done, whether it's interactivity, community engagement, promotion, networking? What are the most important milestones for you to hit that really kind of bolster engagement with your community? And I want to start with Ash because the two of us were just geeking out about old 90s TV shows for a little bit. So I want to go back to Ash to give her an opportunity to start this time.
Oh gosh, here I am just trying to take notes so I can furiously get thoughts out of my brain instead of just panicking here.
I went first last time. Why don't you do it?
All right, double dose of Conri. Go ahead.
I'll bookend. Again, being a bit of the weirdo, we at Devil's Luck, we kind of try to stand ourselves out via our presentation. Mainly, it's our visuals. We have. I'm very proud of our art department. Cassandra runs a fantastically ornate and beautiful tight ship when it comes to trying to get visuals as precise as possible. We do every show is full costumed if we can help it. A physical background if we can. I'm literally at my GM station right now, and on the other side of these monitors is the set that is a forest that's about 10 feet deep, that the players play Exalted in front of. They've played D&D in front of that. I have, to my right, I have a spaceship set. Down further, there's a tavern. When we ran Pirates of Bloodwater, we actually got a 6x4 foot map of the Scarred Lands and hung that up behind the players. We graciously went, "Hey, Onyx Path, can you send us the largest map file you have of Scarred Lands? We want to print it out nice and big."
So just real quick, the Scarred Lands, which you mentioned a few times, is that from one of the other settings, or is that your own homebrew creation?
Scarred Lands is a D&D setting that was put out originally by White Wolf, part of the Swords and Sorcery line.
Yep.
It is now an Onyx Path release that they do. So it's kind of, I think it's been around since late 90s, early 2000s.
That makes sense. We had some people in the chat very excited about White Wolf when you mentioned it, so now I've connected the dots there.
So the way we try and stand out is through narrative, through our costuming, and through our visuals. Trying to create the best experience somebody could come in and sit down and watch. I noticed that a lot of people go for the comedy. Not everybody's a comedy writer, so
I'm certainly not.
So I have a background in dramatic performances, so almost all of our games kind of try and focus on dramatic character development and telling a story with a focus. Even if that means giving notes and direction for, like, hey, where are we all going? And what we do is we try to turn that into player expectation as part of what we're doing, rather than being like, here's your script. It's more like, where do you think your character should go? Like, understanding character and concept. So standing out for us is definitely our visuals, our look, and trying to give a deep character expression.
Yeah, I know for me, not really having the set. I mean, I got a little DM screen and the books and everything like that, but about half of us are in costume sometimes, and it's kind of like give or take on a different night. For us, it's more of harnessing, or for me, it's more of harnessing, like you said, that theater background, being classically trained, and harnessing all of that, and just the fun and the joy of being in front of the camera and performing for folks. But being a mostly remote because we have people in Texas. I think 3 of our players are in Texas. We have 2 in the UK, and another one's I think in Ohio. But we're all digital, and I was really inspired by when Critical Role came back from hiatus, and they had everyone kind of separated on the different screens. I'm like, I can do that. I can do that because I don't really have I don't have the access or the funds to do sort of like that type of a studio thing for how I want to do it. We do have a partner affiliation, as some of you may know, with FRC Community Media, which was our old studio, and they're looking to do sort of an actual play D&D at some point, but before that happened, they were completely shut down for COVID. So when I was like trying to do something at that moment, I was like, all right, so the studio is closed. It's going to be a long time before we can actually get there. So I'm going to start by doing individual screens and we can tap in remotely. That was my inspiration. And then we started with a module, which circles back to doing module content to be an inspiration for people.
What I'll mention are just kind of like general term kind of things as to what makes like an actual play different and enticing. Just kind of pulling elements from, the tables that I've played at and ones that like I've DM'd at. Obviously, having good table chemistry is a big thing. Being able to feel like you can be vulnerable with the other players in the DM, that you've established boundaries and you've established like hard lines of, okay, this thing I'm not okay with talking about. Don't talk about this. We're good to go.
Yeah, that's
Even
why
having,
session
like,
0 is hugely important, and we have a video on that. You can go
Yes.
check it. It's safety tools. That's the number one thing that you want to do, and then obviously, like you said, party chemistry. But go ahead, sorry.
Yes, yeah, no, you are absolutely correct. Having safety tools in place, whether that's you being able to slide into the DMs of the DM and let them know that you're uncomfortable with something or you're getting close to a certain topic. Even just having like the card system, even if you don't have the actual card,
Yep.
just like something red that you can pull up or something yellow that you can pull up. It's something like that. Incredibly invaluable to be able to ensure the safety of not only the players but the viewers as well. Um, Costuming is a lot of fun. That's something that I think we're kind of just starting to dip our toes into over on NatTwenty. Mostly heralded by a fantastic player and DM by the name of Osera X Franco. She's mostly found over on TBK Roleplay, but she is now spreading her wings all over the place on like Critical Misses and Neon Lights Roleplay. She is with us over on NatTwenty, but she is a fantastic person when it comes to costuming and immersing herself into her character, which I've kind of started to pull as well. Just anything that can help immerse the player into that scenario, whether it is costuming or even if you just have a green screen and finding something as a background that works for you so that you get into that good mindset of, I am this character, these are the decisions that they are making, and not so much approaching it like a video game where it's, well, I gotta min-max this, and here I broke the rules on this to make this sort of thing, where it's making a good actual play is all about playing to the narrative and playing to something that is relatable, creating relatable characters and relatable scenarios that that the players can combine forces with and feel that they have a connection to, but then also obviously the audience can latch onto and say, well, that kind of trait that this character has is something that I would do as well. So I can also see myself in that scenario, and it engages them in chat. So there's a whole bunch of things with that. And then lastly, I think having good audio, whether it's obviously everyone having like
Number one.
decent microphones and stuff, but very much so on the audio effects side. We use Sirenscape. I never know how to pronounce it correctly. But it's a fantastic resource for having all of your music and audio cues all in one place. It is something that DMF Saint will utilize for Morningstar or Last Time Around or Roundhouse very, very easily. What I like to do is just like set up a good playlist to play in Roll20. I've been told that the music that I play in the game that I run is so chill that you can fall asleep to it even if you're in the middle of battle. Just in a good relaxing way that kind of helps break down the mental barriers of, I'm sitting here in my chair playing a game across the internet with a bunch of other players. It's an immersive experience. So that's kind of where that comes in. Anyway, that's all I've got to say.
So I think the thing that makes actual plays different and relatable, for one, like I'm going to be filling in, just repeating some things that have been said, like leaning into that type of narrative, the character interactions and connections. On Dork Tales, it's really easy because we're all like to a member friends with each other and have developed these relationships both like through streaming and through like real life connection, because a lot of us like are from the same area here on the West Coast. But having that type of personal chemistry on screen is really useful, because if you don't like the people that are playing, hell, if they don't like each other, you're not going to like watching it. But I think the reason that actual plays can be so evocative and so easy to get into is that a lot of people in this day and age don't have experience with live theater. They've never seen it. And that's what this really is. We're tricking people into enjoying live theater. And we're couching live theater in terms of game mechanics, so people are getting this type of raw, emotional, human performance that they're not used to seeing. They're used to seeing, big budget blockbuster movies with pop culture icons and these flawless, like, 150 takes to get something right, but they're not seeing those little choices. And when you have like especially a visual layout like any of us do, where you are getting like on Dork Tales stuff, you're tight on the face constantly. Like that's our goal, is to keep as much face time as possible so that you can see the expressions. When we're running a really dramatic scenes, you can see the twitches, you can see the moment that someone's getting emotional, like angry or is starting to tear up. Like you can get that out of. So basically,
Close-ups.
to get a sense of what they're going through like that is incredibly, incredibly pivotal, which is why I think that a lot of actual plays that rely on just like using like tokens and icons and just like a Roll20 screen and that's it, I think that they're losing out on a lot of the connection they can build with their viewers.
Theater versus like a video game UI. Like
Yeah.
Yes.
there isn't much visual engagement from a video game UI, and especially at the speed at which D&D runs, which is molasses when it's the wizard's turn.
Yeah, that's a
And
big problem that we've experienced.